In a bustling automotive dealership, the morning sun poured through the glass walls, illuminating the sleek cars parked outside. The showroom buzzed with the energy of salespeople in sharp suits and polished shoes, all eager to seal the next deal. Among the throng of customers was a middle-aged man named Jack Carson, dressed in worn jeans and a simple plaid shirt. Unbeknownst to the employees, Jack was the owner of the entire dealership chain, having built it from the ground up. Jack had expanded Carson Motors across several states, gaining a reputation for quality vehicles at fair prices. However, as the business flourished, he began to hear whispers of discontent. Reports indicated that customers were unhappy, citing aggressive sales tactics and unfair trade-in offers. Jack knew that behind the numbers lay real people and real stories. Today, he had decided to go undercover, not as a powerful CEO but as a regular customer, eager to experience firsthand how his employees treated patrons when they thought no one was watching. Wandering through the rows of gleaming vehicles, Jack paused to admire a few models, but his attention was drawn to a conversation unfolding nearby. An elderly couple stood at the trade-in desk, their faces etched with worry. The man, slightly hunched with age, held his wife's hand tightly, while she brushed away tears as they spoke to Sarah, the sales manager. The couple was struggling to part with their old sedan, a car that held deep sentimental value, a last connection to their deceased son. Jack listened intently as Sarah coldly informed them that their car was worth only $2,000. "It's not worth much," she said dismissively, her eyes scanning the showroom for more promising customers. The elderly woman protested, her voice trembling. "But this car belonged to our son. We can't just let it go for that." Jack felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He stepped closer, pretending to inspect a car while overhearing their conversation. It was clear that Sarah had no empathy for the couple's situation. "I'm sorry," she sighed, "but that's the best I can do. If you don't want it, I suggest you leave." Unable to contain himself any longer, Jack approached them. "Excuse me," he said, his voice steady but compassionate. "What seems to be the problem here?" Sarah frowned, annoyed at the interruption. "This is a private discussion," she snapped. Jack maintained his calm demeanor. "I couldn't help but overhear. I'm in the market for a car as well, and that sedan caught my eye." "What's its trade-in value?" $2,000, Sarah replied, her tone flat. Jack raised an eyebrow. "Really? For a car in that condition?" He turned to the elderly couple. "How about I buy it directly from you? What do you think it's worth?" The couple exchanged shocked glances. "We couldn't possibly," the husband began. "Let's talk outside," Jack suggested gently, leading them away from Sarah's scrutinizing gaze. Once outside, the couple shared their heart-wrenching story. Their son had been a firefighter, a hero in their community, and the car was a cherished memento of him. Yet, with medical bills mounting and their own health declining, they felt cornered into trading it in. Jack's heart ached for them. "I'll buy the car from you for $5,000, he said firmly. "But I don't want it to end up on a resale lot. I want to restore it and keep your son's memory alive." Tears brimmed in the elderly woman's eyes. "You would do that for us?" "Absolutely," Jack replied, reaching into his pocket for his checkbook. "It's not just a car, it's a legacy." Just then, Sarah stormed outside, her expression livid. "You can't just," she began, but Jack interrupted her, his tone unyielding. "We need to talk, Sarah," he said calmly, but his eyes were steely. He turned back to the couple. "Take this check and drive your son's car home with pride." As they walked away, Sarah's anger boiled over. "Do you realize what you've just done?" she snapped, stepping closer, her cheap perfume wafting through the air. "You just cost this dealership thousands of dollars." Jack stayed composed. "Helping a customer isn't a loss. It's what we're supposed to do." Sarah rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. You think this is how business works? We have to maximize profits. Jack's expression hardened. Maximizing profits at the expense of people isn't business, it's greed. The tension between them was palpable. Employees inside the showroom began to notice, their attention shifting to the unfolding confrontation. Jack took a deep breath, his voice steady. I own this dealership. The words hung in the air, and Sarah's confidence faltered. What? Jack pulled a business card from his pocket, holding it up for her to see. I'm Jack Carson, the owner. Sarah's face turned pale as the realization sank in. Jack's demeanor shifted to one of authority. I just watched you disrespect those customers and lie to them about their car's value. The room fell silent, employees frozen in place. Jack turned to them. How many of you have been taught to squeeze every last dime out of customers? He asked, his voice resonating. A young salesman named Alex finally spoke up. It happens a lot. We're encouraged to lowball trade-ins, even when we know they're worth more. And how many customers have walked out of here feeling cheated? Jack pressed. No one spoke, but a few employees exchanged knowing glances. Jack's heart raced. This wasn't just about one corrupt manager, this was a systemic issue that needed addressing. I'm firing you, Sarah, he declared, his voice calm but firm. Get your things and leave. Sarah opened her mouth to protest, but Jack's expression made it clear that her time was up. She stormed out, her anger trailing behind her like a shadow. Jack turned to the remaining employees, their expressions a mix of shock and relief. From now on, things change. Customers come first. Fair deals, honest pricing, and full transparency. Anyone who has a problem with that can walk out now. Silence filled the room, but as Jack looked around, no one moved. Alex stepped forward, a tentative smile forming. Thank you, sir. Jack nodded, feeling a sense of purpose swell within him. This was just the beginning. As the day progressed, he gathered the staff for a mandatory meeting. He laid out a new plan: every sale would be transparent, with no hidden fees or forced add-ons. The following week, Jack called each customer who had been wronged by the dealership in the past, offering apologies and refunds. Word spread quickly about the newfound integrity at Carson Motors. Customers flocked to the dealership, eager to see the changes for themselves. However, not everyone was pleased with Jack's shift. Michael Langford, the owner of a rival dealership, called him one afternoon, his tone sharp. I heard about your little operation, Carson. You're setting a dangerous precedent. Jack leaned back in his chair, unfazed. What are you implying, Langford? You start giving out refunds and playing nice, and pretty soon, everyone will expect it. This industry doesn't work that way. Jack chuckled softly. I'm not here to play games. I'm here to restore trust. Langford scoffed. You think you can just waltz in and change everything? You're making a mistake. The next day, a crisis hit. Customers began leaving Carson Motors for Langford Motors, drawn in by lower prices. Jack felt the pressure mount as he watched customers walk away. He refused to lower his standards, knowing that integrity was more valuable than short-term gains. Instead, Jack devised a plan. He reached out to former customers of Langford Motors, inviting them to bring their paperwork for a free review. The response was overwhelming, and soon, customers began to flood into Carson Motors, sharing their stories of deception from Langford's dealership. The turning point came during a press conference. Jack stood before reporters, addressing the accusations made by Langford. Our business model is based on integrity, he stated firmly. We are not afraid to correct our mistakes and make things right. As he spoke, a former employee from Langford Motors stepped forward, holding a folder of documents. I quit my job this morning, he announced. Everything Mr. Langford said about Carson Motors is a lie. Here's proof of the deceit we practiced. The crowd erupted in applause, and Jack felt a surge of hope. The truth was on his side, and it resonated with the community. Over the following weeks, Carson Motors thrived, with customers lining up to do business. A year later, Jack sat in his office, reflecting on the transformation of his dealership. He had not only repaired his business but had built a legacy rooted in honesty and integrity. The gratitude from the elderly couple he had helped lingered in his heart, reminding him that true success was about more than profit, it was about trust and respect. As he looked out at the bustling showroom, Jack knew he had created something special, a dealership that stood as a beacon of hope in an industry often marred by dishonesty.